This is what is the amazing thing about being on planet Earth is be able to change things for the better. And they have to let us do it. They have to let us go and find our way. They cannot keep sending in their goons to stop the process. It is coming. There's no way to stop it. It has to be there. Otherwise,
hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm glad to have you all back. When you guys join, please leave comments. Don't hesitate to like, share, or leave a comment question for Jeffrey as we continue talking this morning. I'm really excited to share what you have going on and introduce you, especially as a member of the Global Hemp Association, and all your support. So thank you very, very much for joining me this morning. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, and I love everything that you guys are doing. And I think it's going to be a tremendous benefit and a great resource for everybody.
For sure.
In and out of the industry to learn what the potential of the whole hemp industry is.
Absolutely. So with that being said, Jeffrey, I'd love an intro. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? How'd you get into this industry? And what are you guys doing right now?
Well, I was breeding horses for many, many years, and we started farms in New York, Canada, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Florida. And we had a racing stable, and we bred standard bred horses. And as that business got hurt over the last 10 or 15 years, it's been getting less and less. And now with less and less people going out to the track, it's unfortunate that industry might not survive after another 5 or 10 years. I think the thoroughbred market will always be there, but the standardbred market is taking a hit very badly. So I just decided that needed to figure out what to do with all this land. And I started reading about hemp and what the benefits of hemp are. And this is actually before all the legislation got passed. Then we started really researching it. And once Pennsylvania started with a pilot program, we had joined that pilot program. Senator Schwenk, Judy Schwenk, was the one that really helped pass that bill. And she came out to the farm here several times.
Okay.
And we started growing hundreds and hundreds of acres as pilot programs. And it's not an easy crop. It's not, it's like any other crop. You really have to learn it, and you have to understand how to feed it and get the soil correct to make it where you need it to be. A lot of people were going after the CBD market, and I really felt that was very, very risky. The seeds were crazy expensive, and we really didn't know enough about it to be able to plant the seeds. And then you had a lot of people out there that were taking advantage of people with selling seed that really wasn't the right seed. So I think a lot of people got hurt very early on, and it discouraged a lot of people. And now I think people understand a lot more. You're getting a lot more legitimate people selling seeds now. You're getting more and more farmers that are trying to take a little bit of a risk and growing a little bit more. Everybody got hurt really badly because of the price of the CBD came down so fast, and there was tremendous availability of it. I don't find that to be a big issue. I think that's actually a very good issue, because as the prices come down, it just provides more opportunity for more industry, and more people is going to come down substantially more. So that makes it very difficult to plant it and put the money into it, and especially with taking the plant and then actually processing the oil, which is a very, very expensive proposition.
Right.
And we process the oil through labs, and those labs are getting a lot of money, and it's very difficult to make money. So we're going to weed out a lot of different places. It's not going to be easy, but eventually there's going to be a tremendous amount of oil, and that will lead to lower prices. And the lower the prices, the more products that will be developed for it. So in the next few years, we're going to come in at a certain price, and it's going to be stable. So I really wanted to stay away from that market for the last few years.
Great.
What happened with me was there was a farm, an organic farm in Culver, Oregon, that was up for sale for, and we happened to have bought that property.
Okay.
And the farmer that had that property had 40 acres of CBD oil growing on it, and he couldn't afford to take it down and process the oil with the labs. And so I did it, and it cost me around $300,000 or $400,000 to cultivate that oil. I have the oil, and that's when we started making the different products. So that led me into developing products like the salve that we do, the tinctures, the roll-ons. We just came out with a new product, a salve that has 1,800 milligrams of CBD oil in it. Our tinctures have 3,100 milligrams, and our regular salve that you use for just cuts, bruises, has 50 milligrams, and that works perfect. If you have a sunburn or if you have any type of burn, you put this on and it just takes it away immediately. If you have a bee sting or any type of stings, you put this on and it goes away within hours, and cold sores will be gone in a day or two. So the product works, and the best thing about it is that when someone tries it and it works, you don't need the FDA or someone else to say, why it's working. You know it works, and you're going to use it. And the same thing with our pain reliever. Teamed up with the Simon Kramer Cancer Institute, because there are very few oncology departments that will allow people to use CBD oil for pain. They're using all kinds of opioids, and this institution is very in favor of incorporating the CBD products into their regimen, and it's helping people. It's helping people sleep. It's helping people get out of pain, because the treatments themselves are not pain. They don't reduce pain. They're just treatments. So if you can substitute the opioids that they're using to create to solve pain, then you're getting a very big benefit, because the people are much more alert. They're much more comfortable. They're not destroying all their liver, kidneys, and they're getting out of pain. So we've been working with them, and it's not easy to find these institutions to be able to work with. So we were lucky to get them, and we've been working with them, and it's helping people a great deal. And that's been driving a lot of our sales. And then we incorporated the honey with the CBD, which I believe is going to replace vitamins. There's no question that local honey will solve almost any cold, bed sores,
allergies,
blood pressure, weight loss. If you take this at night, the CBD will increase your metabolism, so you can actually lose up to 15 pounds a month by drinking or taking a spoonful of honey at night before you go to sleep. So we've been incorporating that, and we created a beautiful environment for the bees. We have over 400 hives now, and that's on a 180-acre farm with 30 acres of clover and wildflower, and the bees are pollinating on the industrial hemp. So our industrial hemp is used for several purposes. Number one, we're making kitty litter out of it. Number two, we're making small pets, chicken litter. We just developed a process for hempcrete. There's a little cement in the hempcrete. We haven't solved the problem of being able to cure it 100% fast enough to be able to do it, but we do have it with a small amount of concrete, and we're going to start making those blocks. So the amount of uses for the industrial hemp is where I really started, and that's where I am going to be finishing. I believe that it's a commodity. It's going to demand a commodity price. I think that the prices are going to hold because as more and more uses for hemp and the fiber and the herd for the garment industry, for the housing industry, for the automobile industry, for the pet industry is going to grow. And the more that grows, the more farmland that you're going to need to plant. And I think that's going to increase gradually over the next 5 or 6 years. But I think the demand is going to outpace the amount that people are willing to farm. So right now, if you have, let's say, 10,000 acres in the United States that's being used for industrial hemp, as soon as there are enough corporations willing to buy up that herd and fiber, then more and more people are going to start growing more and more because they're making more on the fiber and the herd than they can on corn or soybeans. So I believe that that is going to keep the price very stabilized over the next 5 or 6 years, if not on the upside. So that's the big difference between growing industrial hemp and the CBD oil. Because the CBD oil is going to be grown in greenhouses and indoors, whereas the industrial hemp really needs to be grown outside. And the amount of fiber and herd that the world will need to be able to complete the process of houses and garment centers is off the Richter scale. So
when you say that, help, this is something that I talk about a lot, right? And I'm kind of trying to put realistically, when we talk about the kitty litter market, and how many processing facilities or how many acres would need to be grown for that sector alone compared to construction materials, fuels, proteins, seeds. I mean, there's so much more, textile market, biofuels. When you say off the Richter scale, what does that mean realistically? Like, what, for consumers, put into perspective for me where we're at now compared to where we actually need to be for this to be
Okay, so let's say an acre is around 3,000 pounds of hemp. And I'm supplying, like right now we have the Oley Valley Petting Zoo that just started to use our kitty litter and our chicken litter and for monkeys and other animals. They started using it. They've reduced the employees that it takes to clean up that zoo in half. So they had 10 employees that were just working on, cleaning the stalls every day. Now they're down to 5. The chicken litter will last in the coops for 6 to 7 months without changing it. Okay. So if it lasts for 6 or 7 months, right, without changing it, think about what that means. That means you don't have to have somebody that's going in and digging it out every week or every 2 weeks, right? It stays in there. And then once you do change it out, that is the best fertilizer that you can have. So you could take all of that and just dump that onto your plants and vegetables, and that will give you all the bricks to make the best fertilizer you can imagine for your garden. So it gives you that benefit. The biggest benefit, besides the amount of labor that it takes away from this, that you're reducing, right? No smell. The hemp absorbs the ammonia that creates the smell. So now all of a sudden you have a zoo that doesn't have all the smells of a zoo. Yeah. You have chickens in your chicken coop that have no smell of chickens. Your kitty litter doesn't smell in your house, right? Okay, and then you have the weight issue. Okay, if you were to go out and have to get kitty litter, you're talking about buying between 20 and 50 pounds every time you go to the store. So you got to carry 20 to 50 pounds in your back to get it into your house. Then you have all that kitty litter that's sitting there because you're constantly changing it. With the hemp, we're talking about 4 pounds. So the equivalent of 20 pounds of clay is 4 pounds of hemp, and it lasts longer, and it's biodegradable. So the benefits are, that's what I mean by off the Richter scale, okay?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It's,
well,
it's,
Mandi,
it's,
but this is what's not realized, right? And this is what I get asked all the time. People talk about the, the biodegradable factor or the soil remediation or the carbon, the carbon sequestering. But what we're not talking about are all these other factors like labor reduction, water reduction, the time frame, the smell, the odor. These are key things that are just huge changes for small business that make massive impact. And how readily available is this now then, Jeff? And how available is it to us for us to continue to supply the market?
Okay, so right now I have about 2 million pounds. So I'm making kitty litter. We just started selling to Chewy. We haven't gotten the distribution where we have to send it yet, but they've approved us to be able to sell our chicken, small pets, and kitty litter on Chewy. We sell it on the internet all the time. I'm capable of making about in my house right now, I probably have 500,000 bags that I can make of kitty litter, right? Which is, so I can make it in size, right?
Yeah.
If I sign up more zoos, then it's gonna evaporate. The product evaporates very fast.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as farming it, as soon as people start using it more like myself,
mm-hmm.
The demand for farmers is gonna go through the roof. And what you said before is even more important than what I'm doing, okay? Right now, we have soil erosion all across the United States and all across the world. It's not just in the United States, it's all across the world. And we have all of these forest fires that have depleted all of the soil erosion. Okay, when you have a forest fire and you lose 20,000 or 10,000 acres, not only do you increase the emissions, but you're also reducing you're increasing the soil erosion. And that's what's causing all of these landslides. If you don't have trees to absorb the water and keep the soil intact, that's what causes your soil erosion, and that's what causes your landslides and everything like that. So if we keep cutting down trees, we're going to have no vegetation. I mean, then that ends. Then we're dinosaurs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, what you said before is even more important than what I'm doing. So by us growing an acre of hemp, it's like growing 20 acres of trees, because trees take 20 years to develop. So can you imagine planting a tree and then 20 years later, you have a tree that you can cut down? I mean, think about the craziness of that. So
that's something that sits hard for me when I drive by a Christmas tree lot. When you see all these trees that have taken a long time to grow, and I'm not discrediting. Like I appreciate everything that people are doing. It's just I feel like the Lorax sometimes.
But in the forest where they're cutting these trees down that are over 20 years old, that it doesn't make any sense, because there's no reason for it. We can grow hemp in 3 months to replace leaving those trees alone, and we have the same products, if not better, right? But why are we, we're so crazy about, this, where we're going to make a couple of people rich, right? Instead of what's going to be best for the world. We're depleting the world of the assets that it needs, the raw materials. So there's no reason for that. So I think, and then you had Trump, the ex-president, coming out that we have to grow millions of trees to just to get back what we just lost. So how are you going to cut down more when you got to grow millions of trees? So there has to be incentives for people to grow hemp.
So tell me reality is where we are now and where we need to be. What needs to happen? And you said a few things like lobbying, and I know infrastructure needs to be built and education needs to be had, right? But for you, what does that look like? Like, how do we bridge this gap as fast as we can, knowing we're going down the path we are?
I think you have to just let people like me and Oley Hemp grow our product, build products, sell them, and stop saying that you can't get loans. You can't you can't sell here. You can't sell on Facebook. You can't sell on YouTube. You can't sell here. You can't sell that because the name hemp is involved. You got to stop.
Yes, we were just talking about this, right? And I think that that's exactly it, is we have a product that is a commodity. I mean, we're moving into, and I guess to you real quick, what does it mean to be an agricultural commodity for a product? Because I think what the perception is this is just this like boutique grow, and there's going to be a few people, reefer madness, they're going to get high or use it like they do vitamins maybe, but it's not. It's going to be in every facet of our lives, right?
It
So
is.
for you,
It is already. It is already. Right?
yes.
Nobody that I know ever died of smoking pot. Nobody's ever OD'd of taking pot. No one's ever OD'd of taking CBD oil.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, if people take a lot of CBD oil, they start to hallucinate and they have great thoughts. And that's what made the Beatles, and that made the greatest music that we've had in for years is that people are hallucinating from these drugs and becoming very creative. And what's so wrong with that? Is there anything really wrong with it? If drugs were that bad, pot was that bad, would Bob Dylan, right, that's been probably doing these drugs, and Mick Jagger and all of these bands have been taking drugs that our parents told us that, and the government told us that these kids have no brain cells because it's killing all the brain cells. But now they're 70 years old and they're on stage, and these kids that are 20 years old can't even keep up with them because they're wearing masks and they can't breathe. I mean, it's like it just drives me out of my mind. It just drives me crazy.
I think that the more we talk about it and the more it's normalized, I think people are putting it together. It's no longer a stigma of a certain class of person consumes cannabis. It is everywhere, from school teachers to lawyers to doctors to bums on the street. I mean, it is in everybody's life for a reason. And I'm with you, right? So when we talk about...
Okay, go ahead. No, I was just going to say, if somebody drinks alcohol, they get very agitated. They get into accidents. Nobody gets, loses their mind over. If anything, the THC slows people down and makes them easier to deal with.
Sure.
Alcohol makes people, uncontrollable. You can't walk, you can't talk, so there's a huge difference. And if the FDA wants to do something and stop something from destroying this country, is let them take cigarettes off the market. You tell me that the FDA allows us to buy cigarettes, and you tell me just one thing that is positive about smoking cigarettes. It causes cancer, which is bankrupting bankrupting the healthcare in this country, right? Because everybody's in a hospital getting surgery for lung cancer, which costs millions of dollars a patient, right? So I'll let you go back to asking me questions because I lose it a little bit because it's hard for me.
I think this is an exact example. This is kind of where I became passionate in my aha moments, in that we have a solution at the tip of our fingers to use and create solutions for not just the farming industry, but our food, our soil, our air quality, our plastics recycling. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Our opioid addiction, our suicide problems. I mean, there's so much that really unfolded. So when I say hemp is the industry of hemp, I really believe it's no different than the financial industry or the tech industry. It will be in every business, and it will be an avenue to be successful and to put products out or serve, the healthcare industry or the automotive industry or any of these. It's just more and more, the more it's talked about, the more we get out and normalize it, Jeff. I think people are starting to put the pieces together, and I think it's just taking that, what we've been told and what we've been lied to about has sunk in. And especially for people our age, you get into this younger generation and they see the effects of our ozone and our pollution and our plastics and the greed, the greed that comes with it. So
I was just on with Dr. Moreland from the Simon Kramer Institute.
yeah.
And when he first started the interview with me, he said to me that the opioid death rate is exploding in Soquel County. It's up over 30% year to year. I mean, think about that. I mean,
Yeah.
we're losing all these young kids and all these people to a problem that shouldn't be a problem.
Mhm.
We have the solutions very easy and at a less of an expense, right?
So when we talk about like bridging this gap, right? I went at this from a different angle than what people knew or what I've seen, right? The CBD talk has been the primary market, like you said. We talk about fiber and the opportunities that are available outside of our personal health in ingesting it, right? I really feel like this is where we're going to bridge this gap, is going after these industrial, applications. Can you tell me a little bit about what people know as this high resin flower plant? It's the low THC market. We're talking about this fibrous market being grown, or fibrous plant being grown much taller, more of a commodity, more of a row crop. What does processing look like for that, for kitty litter, or into some of these applications that you're using it for?
Okay, so there are different parts of the country that make it more feasible. Okay, like in Pennsylvania, where I am, we have a lot of rain and we have a lot of moisture. So when we're taking down the plant, we basically have to take down the seeds first, and then we have to let the stalks in the fields for about 2 weeks, and then we could take it down when the moisture level of the herd and the fiber is right. And then we have to break that down, and it has to be dry. If it's wet, then we have a big issue with moisture, and moisture becomes bacteria. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's
Monday. It's Tuesday.
Yeah, the moisture leads to bacteria. And once you have the bacteria in there, then you have to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we started to build facilities in Oregon and Montana, because the moisture level is perfect for what we need to do. So that's going to be the best places to grow industrial hemp, because you don't have to work. You could leave it out in the fields all winter, all summer, and it will not mold. So that's when we started expanding into Oregon and Montana. We're doing it in Oley also, because we have different farming capabilities here. We also do the bees, and we need the hemp for the bees to pollinate on, because that gives you the most protein, and it gives me the best honey and the best tasting honey, and it's all organic. So there's reasons for us to be in different parts of the country for different products that we're establishing. But as far as the plant itself, you need a certain amount of water. So like that runs into the problem in Montana and Oregon, that you need irrigation systems. So we have to invest a lot of money in irrigation equipment to be able to do it. But all the farms there have the irrigation systems in already, because they've been farming there. You're not going to farm without water. I mean,
what type of irrigation are you using? Are you using drip or like wheel
drip.
lines? Drip.
You can do wheels. You can do drip. Like the drip is better if you're trying to feed the plants. We don't really need to feed the plants as much. Like for the CBD, you need to feed the plants more. The THC, you need to feed the plants. But in the industrial, you can get away with just the wheels. You can feed it a little bit, but you don't want to feed it too much, because then you run into the problem of getting the THC levels high. So there is an equation there, but as the THC levels change, like for me, it doesn't matter if there's THC in a product that I'm grinding up and
Right.
throwing it in kitty litter, right? I mean,
Right.
what are we talking about? If anything, it's only going to help the cats and the dogs and the pets by having a little bit to slow them down and calm them down a little bit. But, you know, so we have to worry about that a little bit, but we really don't worry about it too much because we've been doing it long enough to know where to go with it.
So you're actually taking the stalk, so you harvest it out of field. Are you drying it in field, or are you taking it somewhere else to dry it?
We're drying it standing up.
Okay.
And then as soon as we have no rain for about 2 weeks, it's dry, then we cut it down. We grind it up, and then we go into our decortication equipment that we developed ourselves. And then we could separate the herd and the fiber to about 99%. There's still a little bit herd left in the fiber, but we built all that equipment from scratch, and we have the capability of doing that. And we have the capability of going across the country and setting up facilities on every farm to do it. And I'm more than willing to put my equipment at every single farm and charge a certain rate to communicate all of the hemp that anybody is growing. We're open to any type of relationships with farmers to help them be able to grow it and process it so they could sell it to the different industries. We're sending fiber out to different people in the garment industry right now to see if they can make it into fibers, into yarn. That's a way above my pay scale, so I'm working with people that really understand how to do that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a huge investment for them. I mean, when you're talking about equipment like that, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars now. You're not talking about building a plant for 10 million or 5 million. You're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. And there are people out there that are going to make that investment because they have industries that are billions of dollars to support it. And I think there's a lot of
that needs to be heard. Right? We're looking at feeding into markets that are billions and billions of dollars. So it's going to take that capital investment and that big infrastructure to be developed.
This is an industrial revolution. This is the start of what was happening in the steel industry in its day. This is going to replace everything. Okay. Everything that we know of today is gone. And that's what's scaring a lot of people. But it's not something to be scared of. We should embrace it. This is what is the amazing thing about being on planet Earth is be able to change things for the better. And they have to let us do it. They have to let us go and find our way. They cannot keep sending in their goons to stop the process. It is coming. There's no way to stop it. It has to be there. Otherwise, people are going to start to realize that this is the only way to do it, and that's the right way.
I think that it's funny when people say, teach me a little bit about hemp or tell me something. And I always say, look around. Everything you see can be made out of hemp. It'll be in everything. And I think that there's definitely items, and it's going to take time. There's a reason we have plastics. There's a reason that we have wood, right? That we're building things. But it's going to take time, and we're going to have to cross this over, right? Where can the industry or people step in and really make this happen? Where do you really see the focus needs to be on this? The focus should be over here right now. Where do we really need to be paying attention as industry leaders?
I think that if you have a company that is making a specific product, the material that you're using, you need to step back and say, okay, let me have some of this herd and fiber, and let me give it to my research and development team, and let them discover ways to use that product to make their product better. And that's I'm not the person that has the answers for that, but I'm a farmer, and I'll sell them a commodity and let them take that commodity and develop a product that is going to be better for them and better for their consumer and better and more profitable for them. That's basically what, and I don't want to destroy the capability of making, cutting people's profitability, because that cannot work. If you're not making money, then people are not going to go to the table to produce something.
Totally.
And I am not suggesting that in any way. I am suggesting that people research what they could do with hemp to make their products better cheaper, and make more money. I'm not,
And more environmentally friendly. For the first time, we
Well,
have an opportunity to be sustainable and profitable.
but you see, that there's the kick, right? We know that if they use the hemp, it's favorable, right? So if they can figure out a way to use it to make more money with it, then they're going to use it. So, that comes hand in hand. You can't go and tell somebody you have to do this because it's going to be better for the planet. You're going to lose a lot of money doing it, but in 20 years, somebody's going to be a little bit better off. It just doesn't work like that. But they will take a certain percentage of their profits and play with it to be able to make something better. There's no question about that. Because when we first started with the phone, right? What did you pay? You paid $7,000 or $8,000 for a cell phone when they first came out, and now the cell phone is about, it went down to $7. Now it's back up to $1,500. But you are going to find companies that are going to make better products. I mean, there's just no question about it. I mean, all you need to do is you take Elon Musk. I mean, if it wasn't for him, the automobile industry wasn't going to make electric cars. They had the technology 20 years ago to do it, right? But they didn't. Why? Because they didn't want to mess around with their production facilities that they have hundreds of billions of dollars invested in. Now all of a sudden they got to change it all. But now Elon came along and he crushed them, right? Now all of a sudden everybody has the technology in a year. Come on, you don't think they had the technology 20 years ago?
Right.
He just came in and shook them up a little bit, right? So that's what we need in the hemp business. We just need to shake it up a little bit. And there are businesses out there that I'm sure will find ways. I mean, you have, geniuses working at these companies.
I wholeheartedly believe if we can give it to our kids, they will change the world with it. They are.
There's no. I can give anything to kids today, and they will change it. Okay.
Get it into our schools. We're talking about a commodity, right? Our ag departments, we're giving our rural areas an opportunity to keep their kids in their hometowns because now they have a way to process, eat, make money, bring new jobs. Yeah, it's much, much bigger for sure, right? What's some advice you have, Jeffrey, on finding that the institutions, you said earlier, figuring out which institutions to work for or work with. What's some advice as people are getting into this and really looking for those trusted partners and organizations that are willing to back or do the R&D? What's your advice as people are getting into that?
I'm not sure what the answer to that would be because I think you just have to go to these corporations and just say, look, here you're making a product. Here is a sustainable product. This is a biodegradable product. Give this to your team and say, make me a better product. And they will, right? And that's really, it's just that simple. It's just a matter of DuPont going to their research and development team and say, listen, I don't want to make plastics anymore. I want to make hemp. And then give it to these scientists that are coming out of the best schools, the best minds in the world, and let them play with it. And then you have all of the people like myself that they come out of garages that will take something out of a field and figure out how to make kitty litter. I have never owned a cat in my life. I had no idea about kitty litter, right? We found a way to make kitty litter. Then we made small pets litter. Then we made chicken litter. Then we made soap, right? We make soap out of hemp now. It's just going to increase. And could you imagine if Arm & Hammer, who is spending hundreds of millions of dollars on producing kitty litter, if they gave their R&D department herd and fiber and said, listen, make me a kitty litter, you don't think they could figure out how to make amazing litter, right? So that's my suggestion. We need to have maybe the government or someone give, let's say, a tax incentive, right? If you make for the next 5 years, whatever products you make with hemp is tax-free, right? And you can make all that money and then get back your investment. There are all kinds of ways that people can work. And these big corporations, they know how to take money. The insurance business, They know how to take money, but they know also how not to give it out, right? If there's ever a disaster in this country, who pays for that disaster? We're paying all these fees for insurance. And then when a disaster hits, they go back and they say, oh, we need help from the government. When they go back and they ask the government for the money, right? Who's paying that? The guys that just paid all that money in to have insurance in the first place. Right? So they know how to figure out how to beat the system all the time. So let's give them a reason to beat the system with using hemp. That's it. I don't know what else to say on that. I mean, it's a very frustrating. What?
It's very frustrating. And I think this is why I've become passionate about connecting within the industry, is just that, giving people a resource, a way to talk and figure stuff out, a way to get into new markets.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to put a shout out right now. I want to talk to those industries that are not in hemp. I want to know why. What are those reservations?
This is my honey, right? With CBD in it, right? This will make you sleep. Every night, you take this a half hour before you go to sleep, and you will sleep the whole night and be up and get up all energy, with energy and losing weight. This is without CBD, right?
Yeah.
These are products, right? That little old Jeffrey in Oley, Pennsylvania came up with, right? Here's a salve. This, you put this on, right? This is all natural. This is all natural, right? You have a sore or any bite or anything, within 20 minutes, it's gone, right? I don't even know what else is here. Oh, I got coffee, right? Here's my coffee. See, it has MCT and hemp seeds in it, right? This is all being made by a kid, me. I mean, I went, come on. If I could do this, could you imagine if the big companies start stepping up for this? It's funny.
It's awesome. It's incredible.
What?
So how do people find you? I shared your website earlier, but if somebody wants honey or wants to make some orders, how do people reach you? If someone wants to connect about equipment.
Oleyhemp.com. My phone number is 212-644-0345. You can call me up, and I'll talk to anybody. I mean, if I can get this stuff moving and shaking and help people, farmers especially, with the decortication equipment that I have, and I could come in there and I can bring my equipment, set up. We need a 2,000 or 3,000 square foot building, and I'll put my equipment in there and I'll help you decorticate and process all your hemp all day long, and we can make money and really, solve a lot of problems, and at the end of the day, come out with more money than we entered. And I'm just thinking what else products that I have on my desk right here.
Hey, I have a question for you real quick. We're almost out of time, and I want to ask you something. Kitty litter, rumor has it, someone told me one time, in order for us to supply the kitty litter market in the United States alone, we would need upwards of 100 processing facilities, big processing facilities, just to fulfill the number of cats in the United States. So we're talking huge volume, right? Is there a chance that markets like this become flooded as more people come into the industry? And how do organizations like yours keep that from happening as kitty litter becomes accessible, or we start seeing it more and more, right? How do we keep everybody from doing kitty litter? And how do we keep the market from being saturated?
Saturation, to me, that means is not a bad thing. I mean, if there's a lot of people that are making kitty litter and there's too much on the market, the price comes down and people can't survive and they go broke, and then you have people that are left standing, and those are the people that are going to make money. So it's just a question of who processes it and does a better job doing it at a lower price. So that's, to me, is not a problem. That actually is a good thing. I mean, it happened in the CBD market for the last 4 or 5 years. We were capable of making more CBD than we were able to use.
Yeah.
So the price came down, people got hurt, and that's really just and that's just a fact. So is that a bad problem? I think it's a great problem.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious, because this is something when someone says, what, I get calls every single day from people that have run into the website or seen us on YouTube that say, I want to make something out of hemp. What do I make? Right. And so as I talk about making introductions for people, depending on who they are, I'm always curious, what does that market look like for availability? So
No,
let's keep
not a problem.
in touch. Yeah, let's keep talking about it, because I would love people. This is something that spikes everybody's interest. Well, Jeffrey, thank you so much. I have to remind everybody, share, like, comment, join our association, get to know Jeffrey, reach out, don't hesitate. Other than that, we'll see you guys all tomorrow. Thank you very much, Jeffrey. Talk later. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.